Hey guys, my name is Crakin, and this time around I'm bringing you a look at the Shamans on beta, more specifically Enhancement and Restoration. So starting off with Restoration first, there's not a whole lot that's changed that I can see other than, of course, totems. Now the thing with totems currently on beta is that you don't just run up to a pole and plop them down. What you're going to end up doing is they're very situational, even healing stream. Healing stream, more specifically, 30-second cooldown and heals for 15 seconds total. And there you can see the amount that it's putting out. Now I have all these other totems out, but the air, fire, and earth totems are just kind of dummies that are not actually doing anything. So what I don't like about this is you're not really giving out buffs. All the shaman buffs you'll see are now auras, which I find kind of weird actually. I'd prefer them to be totems, to be honest. Having them as auras is just kind of boring. You know, it's like, oh, I'm giving out this, but you can't actually see it or put it down or do anything cool with it. So what totems have turned into is more of like, almost like miniature cooldowns for some of them. You still have major cooldown totems like Mana Tide and the new Healing Tide, but they're just kind of situational and little mini buffs. They're good in practice, but to have them not something that's not permanent isn't really fun. I kind of prefer to have the buffs as the totems. It's such a core shaman mechanic. As far as spells themselves go for Restoration, there's not a whole lot that's changed since Cataclysm, really. You still have Riptide, which still provides that casting buff to Healing Wave and Greater Healing Wave, as well as the crit to Healing Surge. You still have Healing Rain, you know, same exact effect, same everything. You still have Healing Wave, Greater Healing Wave, you still have the Chain Heal, you still have your Unleash Elements, which by the way, you're still using Earth Living at this current time for your weapon imbue. Still has the same effect. You still have your Greater Healing Wave, and if you actually put it on your bars, which I still have yet to find a reason to, Healing Surge. You still have the same Dispel, however it is Curse and Magic, and keep in mind that it's removing all Curse and Magic effects at once, but incurs an 8-second cooldown. Now as far as cooldowns go, you still have Spirit Link with the same effect. You still have your Spirit Walker's Grace, which allows you to cast while moving. You have a new Healing Tide, which does a ton of healing. It's almost like a Tranquility for 10 seconds. You still have Mana Tide, as usual. You also have some talent-based cooldowns, such as Stone Bulwark. It's going to grant an Absorb Shield to only you, though. That's not going to give it to the raid. Now you do have Stormlash, which it's going to give your entire raid. Their attacks and spells are going to trigger additional nature damage. It only lasts 10 seconds, so it's kind of a short duration DPS buff. You also have Windwalk Totem, which is going to grant the entire party or raid immunity from movement and parrying effects. Very cool totem on a 1-minute cooldown. Other than that, you still have the standards: Earth Elemental, Fire Elemental, Magma Totems, Grounding Totems, all that good stuff. Still using Water Shield. Not a whole lot of changes for Resto. Now recently, in the most recent build, they did buff healing a bit. I haven't had any issues healing in instances all that much, but you know, to keep it on par with the other healing specs. Next up, I wanted to talk about Enhancement Shamans. Again, not a whole lot of real change here, which is kind of unfortunate. From what I see, you're still using Searing Totem for buffing or Lava Lash. You're still using Wind Fury and Flame Tongue on the offhand for as much as I can see, which I'm not too thrilled about either. I would have liked to see some new weapon imbues. That would have been really cool. Now the rotation, no change at all. You're still Storm Striking, Lava Lashing, Shocking, still Lightning Bolting on Maelstrom procs, and Unleash Elements into Flame Shock. Not a whole lot of change at all. Still using that Lightning Shield and getting those procs. So as far as rotation goes, not a whole lot of change at all, but it's still early in beta. We'll see what happens. Now, much like Resto, a lot of your buffs are going to be passive auras. For example, the spell power, the 10% spell power buff, which, by the way, is given to all Shaman now, not just Elemental. That is a passive buff. Your Flurry as enhancement is given to you when you spec, which is the one that increases your attack speed after crit. Your Maelstrom weapon, also passive, when you spec into enhancement. You get a mental quickness, and you're getting that as a passive buff. What that's going to do is it's going to give your spell power equal to 55% of attack power, but you no longer benefit from other sources of spell power, for example, enchantments, flasks, stuff like that. What's cool is this also reduces the cost of your totems by 75%, which is kind of nice since you're having to put down a Searing Totem quite often, every 45 seconds. Also, this gives your melee swings chance to restore mana, quality of life on that one. Now, non-talented cooldowns for enhancement shamans, there's not a whole lot to choose from once again, unfortunately. You still have your wolves, doing pretty much the exact same thing, not a whole lot of difference there, not a whole lot going on. You still have, of course, Earth Elemental totems, Fire Elemental totems, again, no change there, nothing special, not a whole lot going on. So other than your talented cooldowns, which I explained earlier in the Resto section, there's just not a whole lot going on. Now keep in mind, again, it is early in beta and some classes are still undergoing huge changes. Just because we're in beta now does not mean that this is anywhere near final. Everything can change. So unfortunately, that's all I'm gonna have for this video on Resto and Enhanced Shamans. There's not a whole lot to report. Now they do have a level 87 cooldown called Ascendance, which is very, very cool. That one's going to change you into the model of, if you guys can remember, Ascendant Council from Bastion of Twilight. Currently that's the model you turn into, you gain some buffs, and currently casting animations are the same, so we'll have to see what happens in a future build with that. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of changes to report on so far, but I'm hoping for the best in future builds. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.